If, however, you're feeling adventurous, we can go over the road here and up this dead end road and then onto a footpath which will lead us to Broadclyst, which is 2 miles away. In Broadclyst there are all kinds of delightful facilities awaiting you, such as public toilets or the Red Lion Inn or the village shop, or indeed a bus stop where you can catch a bus back to Pinhoe or Exeter, or in the other direction to Columpton. So come with me now and head towards Broadclyst. The only thing is, crossing to Broadclyst we have to go across the floodplains of the River Clyst, and if there has been heavy rain, as there was yesterday, sometimes the footpath is impassable. We're just going to have to go and have a look. Come on then. Onwards. Public footpath sign, Hatchland Road. Simple. The end of Hatchland Road. Don't go round the bend, we dive into this narrow footpath. The end of that path, straight over to that gate and the large puddle you'll see over the bridge, over the M5. You can hear the roar of the traffic there, all those people busy, not having a lovely walk in the countryside like us. And into that little gate at the right hand corner of the yard where the footpath signs are. Follow that section of path gradually uphill to the gate in the hedge at the end. Through the gate, across the track, then into that path that heads off across the really large field. And it's a big open field and you might think that there isn't going to be much to see, you know, but there's always something when you're out in the countryside. What do you think we might see? Well, ahead of us there on the left hand side you can see that lone elder tree that's grown up next to the telegraph pole there. In some parts of England, elder trees were traditionally left by country folk, left uncut, because they feared that if you were to cut them you would incur the wrath of the fairy folk. Don't know if that's the case here, but the sheep certainly appreciate sheltering underneath it. All the traces of wool hanging on the branches there. And we continue across that large field, and you'll see off ahead of us there now in the distance our destination. There's the tower of Broadclyst Church. And if we look at the landscape around us, that high hill there, well, that's Ashclist Forest up on the top there, with the tallest trees sticking up visible are the tops of mighty Wellingtonia, Sequoiadendron giganteum, first brought to England by the Veitch nurseries in Exeter. Their plant hunter William Lobb went all the way to California to bring those back, and they were worth a fortune, like gold dust. And there's more of them over there on the skyline in the distance, in the gardens above Killerton House as well. Probably some of the oldest Wellingtonias in England. Probably heard enough of me chatting on, so let's get across this field then, shall we? Hello. Well, we've sadly got to within a few hundred meters of our destination, Broadclyst, where the parish church is just behind me, and the warm welcome of the Red Lion Inn or the village shop or the useful bus stop that would take us back to Exeter or to Pinhoe or to Columpton. Anyway, all those things are denied to us because there's been heavy rain over the last 2 days and the floodwaters have risen. The path is not safe to cross. here on the floodplain of the River Clyst, so we are going to have to return the way we came, retrace our routes behind me back to Poltamore and then back to Pinhoe over the high Pinhoe Ridge. Second time lucky. Having left it a few days and it's been mostly dry, the floodwaters that were right up behind me have receded, and so we are now able to cross the floodplain and complete the walk to our destination in Broadclyst, which lies just behind the trees here behind me. So come with me now and we'll head across the floodplain and go to Broadclyst. Following the path over the causeway arrangement over the wettest parts of the floodplain. See the church of Broadclyst there poking up amongst the trees. Nearly there now. Not much of a bridge really, you might think, and perhaps you might think not much of a river. Doesn't look like a raging torrent now, does it? But this really is a bridge over troubled waters, I suppose, because as you saw from our visit a couple of days ago, the river had burst its banks and flooded the floodplain completely. And the flooding is not just the only problem here. The water quality in the River Clyst is also defined as being poor, and of course that is a result of overdevelopment and bad agricultural practice, and that's exactly the sort of thing that here in the Clyst Valley Park we're wanting to see put right. We want to see improvements in that water quality, and upstream planting and better care of the landscape can result in improved water quality and reductions in flooding downstream. Follow the path across to the field corner. We're passing through the gate here. We cross a little bridge and emerge into a lane. We're on the edge of the charming village of Broadclyst now. Now, off to the left, the lane, which is also a cycleway, goes to Clyston Mill, which is owned by the National Trust and is sometimes open to the public. And then that cycle trail and footpath goes on beyond that, all the way to Killerton House, which is some way off. But that is not the route that we're taking today. We are going along the track upslope, which is leading us into the heart of the village of Broadclyst. At the top, the track comes to a metalled road. Civilization at last. And we are going to the left. On our right hand side, some charming 17th century almshouses, where the road bends around them and turns to the right. We are not going that way. We're going to go straight on into the lane, passing Broadclyst House, which is the former rectory where the vicar lived, immediately adjacent to the church. And we're going to go on up the lane past that, directly towards that parish church. On ahead and through the gates into the churchyard. This is a very fine parish church, the Church of St. John the Baptist in Broadclyst, and a very grand building indeed, which shows the extent of the wealth of the manor of Broadclyst, a very wealthy parish, which is why the church is so large and so grand, with many prominent tombs and architectural features. If you're feeling like an adventurous tomb hunter, you might find memorial stones and a large tomb dedicated to the members of the Veitch family, the famous horticulturalists and nurserymen of Exeter, responsible for bringing so many horticultural plants, including the giant redwood, the Wellingtonia, into England. And if you want to find out more about the plant hunting legacy of the Veitch family, the Veitch nurseries, then I do recommend that you take a look at a small booklet that we've published on exactly that subject. Our project Clyst Valley Regional Park has produced that, and it's available for free in local libraries, tourist information centres and so on. So sign up for our email mailing list and you can find out more about that. The route to our finish is off to the right, past the end of the church furthest away from the tower. So you want to leave the churchyard by the large gates, which will bring you right out into the centre of Broadclyst, right by the very nice village pub, the Red Lion Inn. So here we are at the end of our walk. We've arrived in Broadclyst. We're outside the Red Lion Inn behind me, and if you don't want to take advantage of their facilities, you can cross the road, the B3181, via the pedestrian crossing, and you'll be right by the village shop, and just round the corner from there are public toilets available. Also, just close by there is the bus stop, which will take you back into Pinhoe, our starting point, or into the centre of Exeter if that's what you want. Or you can boldly retrace your steps from here all the way back to Pinhoe, which is another 5 miles, making a total of a 10-mile round trip. Well done, hope you've enjoyed the walk.